a while since I've double checked it. Hold on, let me look at the name.
All right, we're going to go. Hold on a second. And welcome to the Touring Fan. My name is Anthony Krysowitz, and tonight it is an evening with Mr. Robb Benson. And let me tell you something. It has been interesting getting this up and running tonight. If the first true episode of the Touring Fan Live couldn't have gone with any more hiccups and purchases, I'm glad it was with you, Robb.
Hey, I'm here to help. Or mess things up completely.
No, listen, everything's great. First of all, I've been excited about interviewing you. We've done work in the past together. Also, I want to say personally to you, thank you so much for Stereo Embers providing the intro and the outro to the show. I absolutely adore the song, and I adore Stereo Embers, and all of you guys are amazing. So thank you for that.
I feel the same about you and your show and all that. So thank you for letting us be a part of it in that small way.
Well, dude, it's interesting. We've never met in person, but we've talked a lot, and
Sure.
I've gotten to know a lot about you. And one of my favorite qualities about you is how intelligently smart you are in the music world. About 2 months ago, you invited me to this Friday night session where all these extremely talented musicians were coming together to collaborate on this music, and I heard the song that you put on. And I texted you afterwards. I'm like, dude, how long did you take you? Like, how many months and years did it take you to make this, to produce this? And you're like, nah, I did it all in, this short period of time. And every time I'm hearing music and you're like, yeah, man, I produce it this way and do it this way. Dude, you're so talented.
I appreciate that, bro. I mean, the thing you're talking about is called Song Club, and it's what a friend of mine started up during the COVID because we couldn't play live, and all of our bands were shut down, and so we're just all the songwriters of the different groups were like, kind of, what do we do? And a friend of mine started this Friday night song club, and every week on Saturday he gives out these parameters and prompts and the name of the song, and we all have the same prompt, same stuff. So it's a lot like, those film contests where you have like a very short period of time to whip up a short film and then you show it that weekend or whatever it is. It's a lot like that every week, and we've done it for 20 weeks now. So wow. It's been crazy.
So for 20 weeks straight, you've basically just wrote a double LP.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of it that I would not. I mean, a lot of it I would never. A lot of it was an exercise. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're getting really strange prompts and all that, you're not always going to write, your favorite song. But it's like a class with some of your favorite writing friends and stuff like that, and we're all challenging each other to just, like some weeks I was like, oh man, I really wrote a good one, and then my buddies would just step up and be just like, woo, writing these killer songs, and so it was cool. We just were challenging each other and just kind of pushing each other to kind of stay in the game,
Now, listen, this isn't an overnight success for you when it comes to your talent and your ability of what you're able to do with the with writing these songs over the last 20 weeks, your work with Stereo Embers, your solo work, and everything you've done in the past.
Yeah.
Where do you remember your first memory of when you fell in love with music?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, real young, probably listening to, cassettes and my parents' car and stuff like that. I'd just go out there and shut the door sometimes and just crank it up in there. They'd let me do that, and listen to the Beatles and Kiss or whatever they had. Whatever they had. My uncle had an 8-track in his car, and I'd go out there and listen to Kiss and AC/DC and stuff like that, and be like, yeah, this is amazing. But I never thought about, at that age, I was probably maybe 8 or 10 or something like that, and I never thought that that's what I was going to do. I just really enjoyed it. I had my heart set on sports and other things. Turns out I just wasn't very good at them. I love them, but I wasn't very good at them. And I learned later on that music kind of came easy to me. So just kind of when I started picking things up.
Now, when you were younger and you're playing, going in your parents' car playing on cassettes, which there's, it's kind of funny, and I think you'll appreciate this. Like, how the vinyl rebirth came about the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and it's the talk of like holding on to something, and I really do appreciate like the ability to like hold, and it's like real. Like MP3s, it just doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel like ownership or like pride in it. It just feels like it's there. Like vinyl was really special, and it was like you just put the needle around, but cassettes, you had to really work to hear songs. Like there was like a lot of rewind, fast forward. Like if you wanted to hear track three, you literally, unless you had one of those fancy ass tape players that like it fast forward and like stopped on the songs, you had to work real hard to listen to this music on tapes.
You'd wear out your favorite song, and then the whole cassette, and we'd have to sort of do this like surgery, with the cassettes, pull them out, and like kind of cut them and tape them back up, and then you'd lose part of a song, and it was work. And let's face it, everything back then musically took a lot more work than it does today. I mean, today, you pop on your computer and you you listen to your favorite groove on whatever, Spotify or iTunes or whatever you do, and or Amazon, and it's instant. It's all right at our fingertips. We got anything we want, and so we're spoiled in that way. But yeah, we had to work for it back in the day. It literally worked for it because people were paying the money for the vinyl or for the cassettes or for the CDs when they happened to come out later on. And then, um, oftentimes, if you were a huge fan of music and you had it on cassette and on vinyl, when CDs came in, you had to have the CD of it too, because that was the most modern thing at that. What was it? Oh my God, I want to think like the late '80s or something like that when it started happening. And we
Yeah.
all started buying CDs, and you'd have all three, But nowadays, yeah, it's just all out there. So
And it's weird because like with my kids, like today my son was making a playlist. First of all, I have no idea what the hell half that music was he was listening to, but like the idea of him like making a playlist, like it's just not the same. Like I don't know, like I've always like admired the ability to like put things together and put thought process in it, and I've always like, that's why in the past I've made those playlists and we shared them, that and I've asked people for playlists because I've always enjoyed like finding out about people as they like create or develop songs and put it together. It's music is such a thing that I believe it can tell a lot about somebody, like in the sense of like how they use music, like in ways of like a coping mechanism, like what music they listen
sure.
to and how they listen to it, right? Because like people, you and me, I mean, we've done this already. Like we go in and like really dig into music and like try to figure out like how this is played and where this music's coming from and the source of things. It's really interesting to me, which brings me to the one thing that I've never asked of you, and I really want to know about, and that's your writing process. But I really want to know like the beginning stages of your writing process and how you went from just listening to music in your parents' car to developing a passion and love for music to moving that into something where you were like, listen, I need to get this onto something. So, Rob, when was the first time that you turned around and actually went into recording something?
Recording something probably would have been high school. I'm trying to remember, I either borrowed a friend's 4-track like cassette recorder, and I'm dating myself, of course, because this is late '80s or something, but and we didn't have the modern stuff, but and just sort of, but I don't think at that point, I don't know that I was. In fact, I remember recording some stuff and showing it to my friends and having them pretty much just laugh at me. I wasn't very good at it at first, like with anything, you're kind of, your lyrics are cheesier, you're just kind of you don't know what to write about. You're young. You're trying to figure. Well, some people are instant and they're quick and they're fast about that. But I had to kind of mature into it. Um, but it started kind of getting better later on in life when I actually got my own sort of like 8-track and started recording on that and practicing a lot. And I think the songwriting kept maturing, and then I got a 24-track eventually, like a standalone Tascam digital thing that was the big state-of-the-art thing at the time, and did a lot of recording on that. And it built up through the years. It really did. But as far as writing a good song, I don't think I really felt like I had written a decent song until I was in maybe my, I don't know, maybe I might have had a song or two in my late teens that were okay, but it was in my 20s when I started thinking, okay, I'm actually getting better at this, starting to figure this out. Actually, early on when I first started and first got to Seattle, I was just a singer in a band. I played guitar at home in my room, and I played a lot of piano as a high school kid, and writing songs on my own that way. But and piano was always the easy way to write for me in the early days. But guitar was always really hard. I was just learning it. But I was always the singer in the band. When you'd get you'd have the band with the 2 guitar players and the bass player and the drummer, and then there's just the singer up front. I was that guy, for many, many years until I was probably, until I convinced one of my band members to let me play guitar in the band. And then it kind of went up from there.
Now, I always love this. Do you remember your first band's name?
Yeah, well, oh God. Yeah, I mean, I see, because none of them, when I was in high school, I was in a whole bunch of different, what I would call projects.
Sure.
Like, hey, let's do something for the talent show. I think we had one group that we called R&R. It's just really terrible names. The first real band that I would ever consider that I was a part of was called the Widow's Party. And these guys, all of them were super professional. I was living in Spokane, a small town on the eastern side of Washington at the time, and I was 18. And these guys had been in another band that was really big, a big rock band. They were kind of just huge and a lot of covers, but they were trying to get into originals. So the singer that was in their band was like, didn't want any part of originals. He was like, no, we're a cover band, So they kicked him out and they started a new band called the Widow's Party. And I tried out for those cats and they let me in. And the funny story about that one, dude, is like about 6 months in, we had 2 lead guitar players. I was the singer. And about 6 months in, our guitar player was like, man, I think I'm going to leave the band, guys. I really want to be a singer. And the guys were like, well, we want Robb. And he's like, okay, well, when it's amicable, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go on and do my own thing. Well, that happened to be Miles Kennedy. That was, I don't know if you know Miles Kennedy, but yeah. So I was in a band with Miles, and he's, I would say he's done pretty darn well for himself.
I would agree with you on that one. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so that was my first real band, was with him, and actually the guy that plays in his band now, Zia Uden, plays in his solo group. He was in our band back then. The guitar player, that band broke up because the guitar player, after we moved to Seattle together, and about a year in or so, the guitar player left to be in a band called Inflatable Soul, which is all the Cornell sisters and a brother.
Okay.
It was Peter Cornell and like 2 or 3 of the sisters, Cornell sisters, and so he left us, and we just kind of fell apart at that point, and moved on to my second band after that. So, yeah.
So and then let me actually, those earlier bands, were you recording stuff? Were you very hands-on with those bands, or was that something you were still learning and getting comfortable with?
No, I was still just, I was the other guys in the band they were my age, but they'd all been doing it for a lot longer, and they'd been in professional setups. And our guitar player that ended up leaving for Inflatable Soul, he was really good at that point with recording. He'd done tons of recordings, and he always recorded us on his, I don't know if he had an 8-track or a 4-track or some kind of thing, but he did some amazing demos for us. And you know what? I don't have any of those demos. I often wonder how they sound today. I feel like I have a few friends that might have some cassettes that I need to get a hold of and figure out how to transfer or get them digital. But I don't know how it holds up. I really don't.
The reason I ended up moving to Virginia after leaving Massachusetts was, I couldn't afford to live up there, so I moved to Virginia. And in my time in Virginia, I was in a band. I was in a band called Champagne Breakfast, a ripoff of a Pearl Jam lyric, and moved to this area in Lynchburg. And this was going to be my just short stop until I was going to move out west.
Yeah.
But I ended up meeting my wife the second day I was here, and 15 years later, I'm still here. Actually, 15 years in 2 weeks we've been together, so I've been here 15 years. But recently, while moving around my garage and getting some stuff set up, I found a CD of not only the recordings of Champagne Breakfast, but I also found video of us at, I think I was, God, it might have been 20, playing in this underground hole in the wall bar,
Wow.
completely intoxicated, playing bass guitar. And just, I think, and then we were playing Hard to Handle by the Black Crowes at one point, and the lead singer is so drunk he's like dancing on the pole and falling over, and I'm totally sloppy on bass. But you know, I in my head, right? I'm thinking
Mhm.
back to those tapes. I'm like, God, this cause like we recorded it in my buddy's basement. I'm like, God, this is gonna be. I can't wait to listen to this because it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to show my kids.
Mhm.
Just to let you know, no one has heard those CDs since I found them. Those have been hidden in a drawer in my desk because those will never be unearthed again.
I'm a little afraid of that too. Like part of the mystery of not having those is believing that maybe it was all right. But I mean, we were all over the place. So who knows?
Well, I think the one great thing about music is that it brings people together, right? Like when I was in a band, I was this outcast still trying to look for my place in this world and find people that were similar to me. And music always seemed to do that for me. Music was the way that I could utilize a source of something and be able to find people that were utilizing that same source to come together. That's what I've always
Yeah.
loved about music. So being in a band with like-minded people, it was always interesting to see how we would combine our thoughts and processes to build something because I always loved the final product, like the final art piece, because that is like what it comes through.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like you guys, like I found you with working with Tim, and then Tim introduced me to you when we shared those the Stereo Umber songs a few months ago, and we did these amazing things, and I got to know you real well, and I'm like, damn, this guy is a like-minded person who's super fucking talented, who knows exactly what he's doing, and then I'm meeting everyone else in the band. Like I mean, I was following Guan's Instagram, like Facebook live feeds through like like the beginning of COVID-19. And I'm like, damn, like these people are like exactly the people you want to be around, and it's just amazing what music does for people.
Yeah. Yeah. True. And you probably know this because you know a lot of the people around this Seattle scene, but a lot of the musicians around here are just they're all gems. They're really good people, and they're inclusive. Some scenes are more cutthroat and more kind of they work to fight against each other more. But in this scene, it's just one big happy family. Really, I would say.
Well, it was interesting because the first interview I did when I was in Seattle was with Keith Ash, and I've known Keith for years. And the first thing Keith told me was because I had listed out who I was interviewing. He goes, oh, I was in a band with this person. I was in a band with this person. Oh, I know this person because this person. I'm like, wait a minute. As big as Seattle is, everyone knows. He's like, yeah, everyone's worked with everybody. Everyone wants everyone to do well. He goes, you go to a concert for Stereo Embers, everyone that's in the crowd the next night's playing a show there, and the Stereo Embers are in the crowd rooting for those people, and vice versa, and they're all working together. And he said, dude, it's the Seattle connection. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
and it blew me away because he was not the first. When I talked to Mike Musburger, he said the same thing. When I talked to Tim the first time, he said the same thing. And that's the one thing I really admire and I'm very jealous of in Seattle is it seems to me from everyone I've met up there, it does seem like there is this camaraderie. I can't even
Yeah.
speak English, but of people that are coming together that really just want to help everybody out. And I think that's even with like Pearl Jam, as big as they are, like Mike McCready took stage with you guys, right? I mean, Eddie Vedder's taken stage with many of the people. Matt Cameron is taking stage with many of the people. Jeff and I mean, these are people that, in theory, they can stay home, never help anybody, but there's this connection in that city that is just so magical.
Yeah, I mean, I can expand on that. Like when I got into my second band in the early '90s, we were called Mean Tangerine, and it was we lived in this warehouse out in West Seattle called NAF Studios or NAF Productions. And before us, we were considered the NAF rats. We were the guys that ran around. Somehow I got into this band, and it was really a lucky break, and they were cool. And our job was living in the studio, but we would help out. They'd come in with a big load of speakers or load of whatever from a show, and we'd be helping them load in and load out for basically our room and board. But the Mark Nafsey, the guy that ran the owned it and ran it, he did sound for Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, Jeff Buckley. I mean, he was like really connected with everybody. So there was people through there all the time. So the first demo we ever did as Mean Tangerine, I don't think it was all that great because the production was a friend of ours in a garage kind of thing, like you were talking. But the songs are really good, but the production wasn't really great. But at the time, Lane Staley used to hang out there all the time, and I got to know him, and he was super, super nice. And I go, dude, Lane, can I show you this, this demo? And he's like, yeah, dude, let's crank it up. So we listened to it, and he's like, oh man, I have to have this. I'm gonna go to the radio station. I'm gonna make them play it on my birthday. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make them play this demo on my birthday. And so that's the first time I ever was on the radio, is because Lane Staley was like, you have to play this demo, blah blah blah. And they did. It was funny though, because it was a station called KISW in town. And the station was like, Lane's here for his birthday, and he's demanding we play this demo for this band. And so, yeah. He's like, yeah, dude, check them out, go to their shows. And it helped a lot. I mean, the people just helped, People were, if they liked something, they lifted you up. That's the way it worked, or has always worked, really.
So do you I'm hoping you have audio of that somewhere.
That's another one where I believe one of us. So, because at the time you would be listening to the radio, you'd literally be recording it on cassette. Like there'd be things you record it. So one of the four of us definitely has that recording somewhere on a cassette. Now, do I have it? No, but I know one of the four of us does it somewhere. But one of the four of us sort of tried to remaster some of that old stuff. And while I think the band was really great, and I think my melodies were pretty solid, I needed to grow lyrically. Let's put it that way. Some of my lyrics make me cringe a little bit. And then the other part was just the production of whoever our buddy was. I can't even remember his name, but he was like basically recording us in his, area or whatever. I think his name was Byron something, but not to call him out or anything, but he was just learning too. Right. So it was really lo-fi sounding, really like garagey, but the songs were pretty solid. And we were just all getting better and learning our craft. And we were all like 19. So,
So at 19 years old, you're writing music, you're still learning your craft, getting to where, you want to feel comfortable and you want to have things out there that you're happy with still to this day. At what point did you start writing stuff and you're like, all right, I'm starting to feel this. I think I have something here. I know that this is Robb, this is what I can produce, and this is where I want to move forward with.
The next band after that, Mean Tangerine Band, was called Thistle. We didn't get a lot of traction around town, but we started kind of writing better. That was when I started playing guitar, and the other guitar player, Dave, he wanted to sing. So it was kind of this. We kind of let each other in that way. It was sort of like, hey man, I'll let you sing half the songs if you let me play guitar the whole time too. So I'd be writing a song on guitar, and then he'd be writing and singing, and so we sang together. And it was kind of this, I don't know, people kind of called it like almost like kind of a grunge Beatles type thing or something. It was we harmonized pretty well together. That's where it started to feel like, even though the band didn't really break out or do much, we had a 7-inch that we put out ourselves. And that was really fun. That was the first time we actually had product that was, other than like a cassette or something like that. And that was really cool. So we were starting to kind of feel it there. And then I took a little hiatus because I had, my daughter at the time, who's now 25, which is crazy. Yeah, a long time ago. So, and then after a year or two off, I started a new band called Nevada Bachelors. And that band is the first one where I was like, okay, now I'm the guy, I'm the writer, I'm playing guitar. And we kind of took off pretty quick. Within a year, that band was opening for a band called Goodness in town. I don't know if you know Goodness, but it's like the Friel Brothers. I don't know if you know the Friel Brothers at all.
Familiar with them, yes.
Ton of stuff around town. Awesome guys. And Carrie Ockery, Carrie was in Hammerbox, and she was in a band with McCready as well. What were they called? They were called the Rockfords or something like that.
Yeah.
Rockford. So it was her band, and Goodness was with it was Chris Friel, it was Danny Newcomb. Do you know Danny?
I know Danny well. Yeah.
And there was so it's really good. Fia and all that, they were huge in town, so they were playing like the Showbox, which is like a 1,200 seat arena thing, like where Flight to Mars plays,
Yep.
there. So within a year we were opening for them there, like on New Year's Eve. So it was quickly going up the ladder, and we got signed, and we signed to a label called Pop Llama, which was Pop Llama had the Presidents, and they had the Posies, and they had the Fastbacks, the Young Fresh Fellows. So we were feeling it at that point. That was kind of our Like we were mid-20s or whatever, and really starting to have things happen. And that's when, we put out a couple albums together. When our drummer left, the next drummer that joined us was Jason Finn from the Presidents. So he was in that next band, or it was the same band, Nevada Bachelors, but the second CD. And we were really growing and doing good things. And that band kind of fell apart more because everybody was going off to do side projects.
Yeah.
Our guitar went off to do a year-long tour with Harvey Danger.
Wow.
And Jason was getting back with the Presidents because they were kind of reforming again and doing this thing with Sir Mix-a-Lot and stuff like that. And then I just got frustrated because there wasn't enough time in it. So kind of fell apart there. And then I started working on solo material after that. So, yeah.
So Rob, you're getting this band now separates. You're going your own separate ways. You're working on your solo projects. When you're writing music, is there like a place you have to go to mentally to get like in that feel to write things, or does things just come natural to you? Like, what is the process of you actually writing a song?
Oh, it's pretty quick for me. I'm backwards in the sense that I usually write the words first. Most people, and that's kind of why I can do this I have this thing where I write people's either poetry or lyrics into songs for like side business. And it's been pretty successful. Lately it's slowed down because of, I think, COVID. People don't have the dough to throw around like that, but I still have a few clients that are definitely still doing that with me. But I'll write a bunch of poetry, or a bunch of lyrics or whatever it is in a book, and I'll just start floating through it. And that catches my eye. And I'll just, it's like it tells me almost what to play. It's hard to explain, but so I write a little backwards, where a lot of writers will start with some chord progressions. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to write some words to fit, or write some, and figure out a melody. For me, I'm looking at the words, and they're kind of almost telling me, oh, I should do this chord and this melody. It's really a little backwards. And so, yeah, it's never been, I can't remember a time I've ever had writing block. I've been absolutely the opposite in that way. In that I'm always writing. I won't say it's always great. Some of it's pretty terrible, and some of it's way better than the other. So it's all over the place, but I just let it all flow out. And then kind of let whoever I'm playing with kind of cherry pick at what they might want in the group. Like with our group, I'll just, with Embers, I'll just send them demos all the time. In fact, the problem is I send them too many demos, and they're like, yeah, that one, we got to get to that one. And then like 6 weeks later, they've had 4 or 5 others, and they're like, oh, what one were we looking at? So, yeah.
So it's interesting because, like, to me, when I wrote things, and listen, I'm not on any level of creativity to write anything. It's like I'm not that talented at all. I can barely play an instrument to hit a tune. But like, it was really difficult for me. So I'm really jealous and envious of people that can just be like, yeah, man, I just wrote these lyrics down, I put a piece together, I threw guitar into it, and then it's because like there's been times where you've sent me some, hey, dude, this is a rough cut. I'm listening to it, I'm like, the fuck is this? You mean this is a rough cut? I'm ready to run to the radio station, like Landon, and be like, hey, throw this on that, it sounds good. So it's always like peculiar to me that like I really believe that there's a part of the brain that musicians have that other people, they try to tap into that they just can't. Because there's a creativity side to music, that and a mental side of things that if you don't have it, I don't think you can just learn music to learn music. I think you have to have the feel for it and have like this ability that's born into you that, as much as you want to try and train for it, you just can't get.
Well, I'm sure there's different levels of it. I mean, it's like I consider myself kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, things like that. And I've always been able to pick them up pretty well on an average level, not like on a, Tim DiGiulio guitar level. See, it's like I can play guitar well, but I can't he can just like all of a sudden he's just playing these leads. Like I'm like, how the hell I could maybe if I did like 27 takes, I could piece together a solo that sounds kind of sloppily close, but not really. And he just does it without even thinking of it. And the crazy thing is he'll do something and he'll be like, oh, that was horrible, let's do it again. I'm like, no, that was perfect. Really? You think it was okay? Yes. You got to like convince him. He's like, so like, doesn't even believe in it. I'm like, no, dude, you're amazing. That's perfect. No, stop, leave it alone. Because he, like, he's the natural. It's like that thing. But I guess the only one part of my ability in that way has been vocals. I feel like vocally I can pretty much do most of the things I've ever wanted to do, and that's been pretty awesome. But But as far as instruments, I can get my way around. I can fake my way through just about any of them. But I'm not playing drums like Cameron or something. I'm not playing bass like, well, as much as I'd love to be a really amazing bass player. I work really hard at bass because that's probably the one that if I had the chance to really put enough time into, I probably could be pretty damn good at that. So I work on that a bit. But like I'm a jack of all trades, but not the master.
Well, listen, there was one song that you sent me. I think it was the first time I listened in on the studio night that to me was probably, I mean, I do my end of year like top songs and stuff like that. That is easily going to be one of the top 10 songs of the year for me. Like I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was the one that I think your brother played on the radio the day after.
Oh yeah. So one of my very best, but well, it's just people friends. One of my very best friends who I've been in bands with for many times, and we write a lot because he's a great poet and writer, and that's kind of what he does now. He's a writer.
Yeah.
He'll send lyrics, and I'll do stuff, and that's how that song came about. And it just so happens that his fiance is a DJ at KXP, so she hears something she really digs, she'll be like, "I'm playing on my show next week," So I just get lucky in that way.
That song. What was the name of that song again?
I gotta it was that one. Seven times seven or something like that.
Yes,
seven,
it was.
It was one of the songs. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but yeah.
It does ring a bell, but that name, but it was so beautifully done. God, I should have had it pulled up. I could have been playing that right now. Look at me dropping the damn ball again.
I'm gonna look up what that actually. I can't believe that's how many songs I write, right? So I can't remember what the song was 5 weeks ago.
Well, I mean, think about, anyone who's listening right now. If you think about this, in 20 weeks, right? There's this old saying that, in 3 months' time, if you work really hard at something, you can produce quality things, right? And that's 12 weeks, right? In 12 weeks since quarantine, all I've done is gain weight and maybe gain a limp. I don't know, but in the last 12 weeks, Robb has legitimately put out quality music every week that is of standards that anybody that is just a fan of music listens in would be like, wow, this is amazing. Your vacuum song this week was amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that one I felt really good about. That's actually one I might try to work on a little better mix and put it out somewhere. Because I have a couple of different sites where I just put like my demo stuffs out there, like just kind of floated out there before it ever gets to Emberland. And a lot of it never does because I write a lot. I put stuff under shelk.bandcamp.com. I put stuff under robbenson.bandcamp.com. Just, free stuff that you can go check out. And it's just my demos. It's me working through my stuff, me trying to figure out some things. And then if Embers do get a hold of it, what's crazy is there's several of them that have happened that way. They sound so different when they get redone. Even All Amounts to Something, which will be used with your show. My original version of that is completely different. It's like, it's almost more kind of like surfy or something. I don't know how to, it's totally different, but then it took on its own life with Embers.
Well, it was interesting because you had sent me that demo when we had gotten the release the two songs, Junkyard Diva, a couple months ago, back in April, and I had listened to it, but I hadn't really dug into it. And then with this new show coming about and working things out, and we had talked about new song, I remember like, well, I know Robb sent me this email with these songs. Let me just check. And at first time I heard it, it was like, the song spoke to me. I'm not sure what the song's about in percents, but for some reason those lyrics resonated with what's going on in my life now with these shows and how I'm going forward. I'm like, damn. So I messaged you and I'm like, Robb, and you're like, yeah, do it. And I'm like, I was jumping through joy. My wife's like, what are you so excited about? I was like, listen, I'm like, I just hit the jackpot of all opening songs for any show possible with what I just got. So
we're super about that too, because I mean, like, that's a song we recorded in my basement. We were just like in between the big studio projects, and I was like, guys, let's see what I can do with my new little Mac Mini that it's all souped up and the mics that I got and stuff like that. Let's just see what I can do, and that's what I did. So we did that here, and probably just a few different days of hanging out, a couple of practices, and then a couple extra weekend days where we got together, and then I sent it over to my friend Johnny Sangster, who's just an awesome producer, musician guy in town, and had him kind of do a little mastering with it. And he just kind of mastered it a little bit, and then we just put it out as sort of like these demos on Bandcamp. They are available on Bandcamp at stereoembers.bandcamp.com. That and one other that we had shelved a long time ago, but I kind of reworked it and tweaked it, and the guys are like, that's cool. So we put it out as demos, where those others are singles that we did in big studios, you know, Robert Lang Studios, and so they have a much more big, broad, commercial, full sound. But the demo stuff isn't bad. It's fun to do that stuff down here.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I just like that raw, garagey sound. And I don't want to say garagey because none of this is being recorded in garages, in the basement and in studios. But I don't know. That's why I've always admired the Ramones, or even the Sex Pistols, or even Black Flag, or those bands that they would go in, and they would just take, they would just go in there, they'd play it how they wanted to play it, and the Ramones in general, they would go in as a full band, and they'd record everything to get this is it. We're just doing one take. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it? I think there was a couple other groups that are really into doing that too. Like Black Francis, I think, was doing that with his band when that's what his version of what he was doing was. Would just be like, all right, everybody know your parts well enough. We're just recording live. We're just going to go into a good studio, but record live. Yeah. And you get this rawness of it that's just really cool. And you stick with the mistakes, or maybe you can fix a few mistakes, but for the most part, it was like, we're just going to keep what we do. We're going to do it right.
Well, it's interesting because one of the greatest, I would say, one of the greatest reasons that you can see different bands record different ways is, let's go back to Ramones, for instance. The Ramones recorded a shit ton of albums, right? But in the third or fourth album, End of a Century, they ended up getting Phil Spector, who Joe Ramone admired, and he's like, listen, we're going to do all these crazy things. They went over the top with overly producing it, and getting all these songs out. I think it was 1981 or 82, maybe 80. They put this album out that Phil Spector put out, and in theory, I think one of the weaker albums that they ever put out was End of a Century, because it was just so overproduced. It wasn't them. It was something totally different.
Yep. Well, and then some bands what was it? The Replacements that went back and redid one of their albums that was just so polished back in them days, because they just were like, that wasn't the vision we had. And then they just went back and re-released it as this really raw, gritty version, which, it's cool that because I think in the 80s, a lot of bands were getting really polished material, really sort of big, booming. Just every drum sound was just massive, just the size of a stadium. And sometimes you just kind of want to hear that sort of garagey recording. To me, I love that stuff. And to me, the Strokes always had it was very polished, but it was still garagey in that way. It has that sort of it almost, the drums are kind of a little muted and a little sort of just like you're right there in the room with them,
Yeah, the Strokes that's a great example of a band that has kind of modernized that. I think another band of recent, I think early Kings of Leon were like that. I think once they got polished too much, I wasn't a fan of their music. I think their early stuff, Youth Man and Manhood, I believe was really good and raw. But yeah, I don't know, I like the ability of feeling like it's not perfect. I like the ability to think that what you're hearing and what you're listening to is kind of them being themselves. Because I think sometimes there have been bands that I've seen live that I like a band when you see them live. I think Pearl Jam's a great example of this. Sometimes I like them better live than on albums, because I feel like they're getting to be able to be a little more creative on stage, and they're building onto the songs, and it's different. And they know that what they put in the studio is what they have, but it's great live. But then you have bands that worked to overdo things in the studio so much that when they go live, they can't produce anything equivalent to what's on the album, that it kind of... I don't think it holds true in many bands like that. They just don't last.
Yeah. It's if you overdo things, for sure. Yeah, I can see how that'd be extremely hard to reproduce. That's the one difficult thing about some of the solo things where I'm just messing around and being creative and trying to be abstract and different. I do all these keyboard and synthy things and whatever, and then I go, I don't know how the hell I'd ever do that live. So it's just sort of an experiment. It's just like an art project. Throw it at the wall. But yeah, speaking of the garagey thing, when I was really young, way back at the days where I lived at NAF back then, one day Mark Nafsey said, dude, you got get in my car. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to play something for you. This is going to be the greatest thing you're going to ever hear. It's just going to blow your freaking mind. And I'm like, all right. So he turns this thing on, he starts playing it. And I'm like, dude, it was very raw, but it was just killer. It was really well produced and really well done. And I'm like, this is like the greatest song ever. What I obviously know who it is from listening to it, but just give me the story. And he's like, all right. So Cornell just wrote this song, and he wrote it, and he's gave it to Ozzy Osbourne. And Ozzy's probably gonna sing it. We're gonna see what happens with it, but we're gonna find out. So it was a demo, all done by Chris Cornell of Black Hole Sun. And you can find this on YouTube now, but at the time, obviously, no one, Chris Cornell just got his first like 8-track studio set up in his basement, and he did everything: drums, bass, guitar. It was just killer. It was so good. And of course, a year or so later, Ozzy passed on the song, which is crazy. Ozzy, you could have had a big hit there, buddy. But Soundgarden picked it up, and then of course a year or two later it came out, and it was the massive hit. Sure. But it was a few years before that, and it was like I got to hear it sitting in somebody's car on a demo, and it was killer. So it's like amazing stuff.
That's crazy. I had no idea that he wrote that song for Ozzy, and it's weird.
Yeah, Ozzy was looking for songs, and so that he was like, all right, yeah, here.
But it's funny now that I'm like in my head, I can actually hear Ozzy singing that song a little bit. Like
that's exactly what I thought too. I was like, oh, this is going to be a huge hit for Ozzy. But I'm really glad it worked out the way it did, because I think it was a departure. I think for Soundgarden a little bit. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, sure. They were really like sort of heavy Sabbathy, Zeppelin-y runs and big, and grungy and all that. And then all of a sudden, Black Hole Sun was a totally different. It was kind of had this Beatley vibe, but yeah, it did change their world for sure.
That's amazing. Now let's get back to you're doing your solo stuff. You're writing your own material. You're getting experimental with things. You're learning your craft after this band kind of split ways.
Yeah.
When was it, or how did it occur, that you started getting closer and closer to being in the band that you're in now, Stereo Embers?
It was a long journey, because I mean there was a lot of time in between. What's crazy is that Tim and I would play these shows with different bands. We were always sort of in bands of our own and being totally, admiring each other from afar, but we just didn't know each other too well. I went through a band called Dear John Letters with Cassidy, Cassidy and I have been in the most albums and bands together of all the members of Embers, our drummer. And so we were in a band together called Dear John Letters. We had 3 albums with 2 different record labels. The third one did really well. And there was a real tragedy that happened that kind of cut everything short, unfortunately, but that's how that happens. And then so went on to another band after that called Department of Energy with Cass on drums as well. But the keyboard player was Ty Bailey, who is now with Katy Perry. So he obviously has moved on to greener pastures, making a few extra bucks and a few extra fans. But he was originally the one that said at the end of that band, he was like, dude, Tim DiGiulio's band, North Twin, looks like they're kind of having a falling out or breaking up or something like that. It's not going to be happening. We should have him come play with us. So probably the last few shows of that band, Tim came and joined us and played some shows with us, and it was really cool. And then I was on track to just try to pull him into whatever I was doing, but he was still kind of going through the bummed out about his band North Twin, and he just was like, I need to take some time to think about things. And I go, all right, that's cool. So when Ty left to go to LA because he had some positive things going there, and then he ended up in Katie's band, I started a new band called the Glass Notes, put out an album with my friend Jake, who's the guy that we were talking about earlier, that does a lot of lyrics, that I write his lyrics in the songs. And the first album we did, put it out just me, him, and our buddy Perry, who was on drums. At that point, Cass had taken a hiatus because his kids were really little, and he needed to focus on them and raise them up and get to a point where he felt like he could get back into a band later on. So our buddy Perry was in the band, and we put out that first album, and I gave it to Tim, and that's when Tim's like, all right, okay, I want to come play with you. I don't know. I should have just been there in the first place. And so then Tim came over and played with us, and we did our second album with Tim, and that's a lot more like Stereo Embers material. It's a lot of like my sort of acoustic-y songwriting rootsy stuff, but with his, it's like rock and roll vibes and energy. So it's like chocolate and peanut butter, kind of just this melding of the two. And then when that band started, Jake got busy. He started doing a bunch of writing for all these magazines and things, and Perry had some other projects, and Tim and I really wanted to focus on what we wanted to do next. So I put out a solo album, and Tim agreed to go down the coast with me and support me. And so we went down the coast and toured together. went down, played, 5 shows or something down to LA. Last show, hooked up with our buddy Ty in LA, and he played a couple shows with us there. We played a pool party and some different things, and it was really fun. And then Tim was like, dude, we got to do this. We got to build this into something. And I go, yeah, but it's not really fair to call it my solo thing, because if you really want to be in this, I didn't know you did. And so let's come up with a name and we'll be a rock band. And so then actually I got an opportunity to play in Germany. A friend of mine had a wedding, and
Wow.
and he was inviting me to play over there. And then my wife couldn't make it. So he was like, well, have Tim come join you. I'll pay for everything. So he paid for this week-long hangout in Germany. We played his wedding. We played a pub there. We hung out. He actually paid for Tim's wife to come along too. So everything's really cool guy, buddy of ours. So we just had this awesome 8-day hangout in Germany, and we are just talking about what we want to do next. And that's where we kind of decided, we're going to put a rock band. We didn't know what we were going to call it yet, but we are going to put a rock band together. And then a friend of mine, Ben, had moved back from Boise, and we just kind of put that together. And that's where the Stereo Embers started. That was about 6 years ago. And Stereo Embers was actually a song that I had written for the band with the band called Department of Energy with Ty and with Cassidy. And we were playing that song because it fit our set. We were just kind of throwing whatever we could in, just old stuff of mine in, and a couple of things me and Tim had worked on. And we're just trying to find new material. And that was one of the songs. And I think it was Ben at the time suggested, we should just name our band after that song, Stereo Embers. We're like, oh yeah, that's a great name, So a friend of mine had written the lyrics on that. I think I probably told you the story already, but I called him up to get his blessing on that. And he's like, yeah, dude, that's great. That's amazing. And then a week or two later, he wrote me and said, hey, I'm starting an online magazine. I'm going to use the name too. Hope you don't mind. So there's a magazine out there, magazine as well,
Oh man,
but we're all good with each other.
No, that's awesome. And it's so crazy nowadays. Well, I'm glad that all worked out, but and I'm kind of going through this myself, but naming of things and how things work and stuff and all the laws behind it and things, it's such a weird
oh yeah,
back in the day you'd just oh, this is my band name, I'm gonna write it on a piece of paper, I'm gonna mail it to myself and not open it, and then that shows.
Yeah.
It's so crazy nowadays, but yeah, it's cool. Now, is your friend still doing the online magazine?
Yeah, if you look up Stereo Embers, I think ours is probably the first link possibly, but he's in San Francisco, and he's been a fantastic writer forever. He has several poetry books that have been published, and he's really happening in the San Fran scene as far as writing. He's always written for different magazines. When I first met him, he was writing for Yahoo, music editor for Yahoo, and he wrote a bunch of stuff he liked all the bands that I was in. He just followed all of them. He was into Nevada Bachelors, he was into Dear John Letters, he was into Department of Energy, and then he's been into all of them. So we just eventually I started talking to him and hanging out and online and conversations like this, and I said, dude, could I try writing some of your poetry into songs? And he said, yeah. Alex Green is his name, and he sent me a bunch of his poetry, and I wrote 12 songs of his, and a couple of them went into a few different bands. One was Stereo Embers, the song went into the Department of Energy. I think it was our second album we put out. We put out 3 albums. So yeah, I get lost in my own stuff because I think I have 22 albums out. So
Now let me
of all the different solo bands and whatever it is,
Rob, when you look at your base of work and everything you've accomplished so far, is there something that sticks out to you that you're just extremely proud of how it's put together and everything that's put behind it, that this is my baby, and this is what I this is everything to me right now? And not saying that maybe tomorrow you write something new and that's even better, but right now that this is me on a platter.
It's so, all the groups are so kind of they have their own sort of I'm trying to think of what style, vibe. They're all just a little different. So they're all they're like your kids. You can't be it's I like my daughter better than the 2 sons or whatever. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you look back fondly on certain things, and then you look back on some records and think, oh boy, there's a couple, stinkers on that record or whatever it was, songs that just didn't really fly too well. The second record by Department of Energy, I think, is really super fun in that sort of, almost like Shin style pop type thing, that kind of vibe. I like that a lot. The Embers stuff for me is more my personal favorite roots rock and roll vibe, that sort of like, we all listen to that same style of like 60s, 70s rock. So that really fits that part of my heart. There's like all these like, like these pieces of the pie, and some of my, like my wife's a huge fan of my solo stuff that's more like acoustic based and really more like folky and more soulful and R&B ish and stuff. I mean, she loves all of it. She's at every Ember show pretty much. So she's into that too, but that's kind of her bread and butter. So I have a couple solo records that have some little things, slices of things here and there that some people really, it fits into their genre really well. I mean, every one of the groups have a few songs that were the cream to the top. I need to do like kind of a best. I started doing a best of thing one time, and now I look back at it and I don't think it was the best of. It was just ones I liked at the time. Like you're saying, at the time I was feeling them, right?
Yeah.
On my site, robbenson.bandcamp.com, there is like sort of a retrospective of like a song or two from every band all the way through. It's like this big long history of and stuff like that. So I'm going to do another one of those. I think I need to do that.
I'm going to look forward to hearing that. Now, with you being a musician, I always found that, like, and maybe I'm wrong for thinking this, but I always think that musicians have an easy time with the ladies. Now, you're married, and your wife goes to all your shows. Do you use music to help your marriage out? Like, do you write your wife songs?
Yeah. There's definitely been, I mean, you can't write, let's put it this way. You can, if every song was a love song, that would get kind of old too. You have to pick, you know what I mean? Special times happen and you write about them and I definitely. And the cool thing about, I mean, Darla's like my biggest fan, so I'm very
That's
lucky
awesome.
in that way. I think a lot of people, sometimes, I know different musicians that their significant others, for one reason or other, are not all that interested in going to their shows or doing all that. But she's at every show. She's right in the front row. She's jumping around. She's having a great time. She's meeting my friends and hanging with them. And it's just this. She's part of the party. You know what I mean? And so I'm very fortunate in that way. And I think that because she happens to like the songs, that probably helps me a lot. It gets me out of the doghouse when I'm in it. Like I'm really, yeah, so, honey, what, the other week when we were arguing about this and that, and I'm so sorry about that. By the way, I wrote this tune. You want to hear it? Yeah, I'd like to hear that. And then, wow, I really like the song. Oh, thanks, babe. So she's been my greatest support. I'm super, super. I mean, this basement is. I mean, she could have fought for the basement and said I need it for my art, but she just gave it to me and said, no, the basement's yours. You make your studio and it's yours. And so no, I'm the luckiest guy in the world in that way. So
That's amazing. Do you use her as any kind of like not motivation? That's not the word I'm looking for. Any influences on any of the songs that you have written?
Oh yeah, well she's got a killer ear too. So she's like a musician that never pursued it, I guess you could say. Like she plays accordion pretty well, and if she wanted to, I think she could be a great bass player or whatever instrument. But she's just always like got other things to do because she's an artist and a creative person in that way. But she's got a killer ear. A lot of times I'll record something and I'll be like, something's off in this mix and I can't tell what it is. And I'll play it for her. And she's like, oh yeah, the bass is a little bit loud. I want to hear a little more of the snare.
Wow.
Add a little mid range. And I don't know how she does it. And I'm like, and then I'll go do it. And it's like, the mix is right. And I'm like, I don't know how you did that. I don't know. She's like, I don't know. I just hear things. So she's got a really great ear for not being an actual musician. She's got a killer ear.
That's amazing. Now, with quarantine being in effect and all of us being home more than we've ever been in our entire lives, and the fact that musicians unfortunately are not playing out right now, what changes have you made in your life to keep yourself going forward, playing music and working with bands to kind of move forward with things?
I mean, a lot of it, like I said, is that song club. It was a blessing in disguise. When my buddy Joel put that together, I didn't know how to. I was a little nervous because some of these guys, a lot of them are, well, all of them are. I'm the oldest guy in the club for sure. Let's put it that way. And some of them are really happening young badasses in town. And I was like, man, I'm going to be the old sort of rocker that's going to be, but it's been really, really fun because it's challenged me. There's parameters and prompts, and some of them are like, this week's a dance type thing, or it's, stuff that I would never even think about writing. And it's pushed me in that way. It's helped me. And then we get together when we play them on Friday nights, and you snuck in on one of them. It's been kind of a private club. It's going to start opening up in season 2 when they start that in about 8 weeks or whatever it is, 6-7 weeks. I don't know when it is, but whenever they do that. But we're there for each other. We're all we're cheering each other on. We're expressing what we like best about their songs. We're all positive people. And, these are all really talented musicians. And when somebody is saying, man, that's the greatest hook, that melody's killer, or, God, that bass line is sweet, or whatever, it just, and then we're all saying it to the next person. And we're picking out the pieces that we like the best. We're, trying to be honest when we need to be, but not in a negative critique way, but just like pointing out the positives. And it's just been really super cool. And I mean, like last night was our last show for a while, and it was almost like, man, it was almost kind of like, it was hard to explain it, but it was a little bit teary. It was like, we were like, man, we've all grown together. There's like 12 of us in the club, and we've all just like grown to be total buds and just really learned from each other and grown. So that's been a lot of what's kind of kept me going. I think if I didn't have that, I probably would have been working on a solo record, which would have been nice. And now I can do that. So take the time to do that. But yeah, the hardest part has been obviously, my band, we're very much we're a live group. We've tried to start to do the online thing a little bit, but it's been a very slow process and a little bit painful in the way that, some of us are just not as interested in that part of the process, or doing it that way. It's more of a get together in a room type of band. And that's been tough for me and all of them. And I think we'll be able to do that a little more soon, safely, because I've been holding back because my father-in-law, who moved here from Wisconsin for the last several weeks to have surgery for his a cancerous tumor that returned. He's doing really, really well, and he's moving back to Wisconsin next week. So I can be, still cautious with COVID and everything, but
Sure.
but it's more about me now. Hey, if it's me that gets sick, it's me. But him, that's the last person I want to see deal with this. So I've been extremely, extremely at home. I haven't done much of anything other than the necessary shopping, and even then, it's like trying to do online stuff as much as possible and just be home.
So the next step is, we'll be working on a solo album then, hopefully soon.
I'd like, or at least an EP or something. I got these next. Yeah. Start to do something completely on my own without anybody's prompts or parameters. Just me. What am I writing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? I haven't really been able to delve into that because I've been so busy. I'm curious to see what will happen when I start putting pen to paper and it's just my random thoughts, because we've all gone through a lot of crazy stuff. Who knows? Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, I think the one thing from COVID, and especially with everything going on in the world right now, because there's a lot going on, whether it's, Black Lives Matters, whether it's with the president, there's a lot going on right now that's holding up a lot of people, like emotionally. When I mean hold up, emotionally holding up. Like there's a lot of things building in a lot of people, and a lot of people express things differently. I'm expecting from this to see a lot more creative art, whether it's visual, which we've seen some amazing visual art in the last couple of weeks with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, and vocally, and I think it's beautiful. And I'm really thinking that there's going to be a lot of hopped up energy coming out in a musical sense, especially within the next few months, that I believe is going to come from this being at home and being forced to do things and live in a way that we've never lived before, being forced to deal with emotions we've never had to deal with before, seeing truths brought to our eyes that we were blind to for so many years, and just now it's how do we move forward with it? And some people are going to find out the creative process is the way to do that. And I'm really excited to see some bands that have been established and what they're going to do with it, and to see people that we've never heard of before come to the forefront and utilize this in a way that produces beautiful art.
Well, yeah, and I really feel for the younger groups that but I have a lot of great friends that were, like I said, just busting their ass and playing a lot and touring a ton and getting their first big breaks, and this all happened. And like I have a ton of history in my past, and so I've done a lot of things, and I've been a lot of places, and so you know I feel more for them because it's really just breaking them, it's stopping them. But then again, maybe this, like you said, will allow them to go to a place they never would have gone emotionally and create something they never would have created had it not happened. So my hat's off to all those people that those young bands that got their first opportunity to go play these big festivals or these big things, and it just, the rug was pulled out. And that sucks, especially when you're just, you're young and you're full of piss and vinegar and ready to go. You're 25 or 27 and you're just ready to just kill it. And this is tough for them. But I think you're right. Good will come. We got to think positive. We'll get through this eventually. There'll be a vaccine. There'll be a way to get through it. And or it'll fade away. I don't know. We'll see. It's just, I'm not a scientist, but
exactly,
I'm trying to keep my eye on the science and try to be smart about it all, and and stay positive.
Well, it's interesting. You did say something that went to a conversation I was talking to someone the other day about. There is an artist. Her name is JJ Wild. She's out of Canada, and she was touring with the Struts and Rain Wolf, and she was on festival circuits, and she was getting big. The record company had a hard date of when her album was going to come out. Her album went #1 in Canada. She's had #1 songs across the border, all the way up through the end of June, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, the concern I have now is, well, she can't tour, right? Because listen, the bands that are touring right now, they're not looking good to anybody because they're not doing it correctly, and it's casting a shadow on them. And so nobody, in my personal opinion, should be doing anything that is going to make themselves look bad, because it's going to hurt them in the long run, because it's just going to follow them for a long time. So this poor girl who's 27 years old, who I think is probably, and I'm not, it's hard for me to like new music. I know it sounds terrible, but like I like a certain thing, right? Like I like a certain bands, I like certain music, like I like a certain feeling. So I haven't really heard a lot of new music that's just like, oh, I love this new band, I'm going to follow it. But, with her, I was like, wow, this is really good. And awesome. I worry by the time we get to tour,
okay,
is she going to be relevant enough that she's going to sell those clubs out, that she's going to be, that steam from now is going to be relevant in a year?
Yeah, it's just so hard to tell.
Yeah.
And I imagine, I want to think that everybody that was on that track will just sort of like take over where they were and just keep climbing, hopefully for them and for everyone that has, I guess, God, it's just so weird to think about. Yeah, we had all these things planned as far as like, CD release, or not CD release because it was electronic singles, but single release parties and all these big shows that we had planned, and then just cut out there too. But yeah, I think I want to think that that people will remember, and maybe even, how like music is a time in your life, and maybe it won't be I want to think that the good music of this time will be something we'll look back fondly on and think maybe that's what got us through it or helped us get through it, because a lot of us have those days where it's like, holy crap, without the music, what would we do? And the cool thing is you can make music at home, unlike movies and films. People can't really be doing that right now, which is unless it's, I've seen a couple of funny short films that were done with the masks and just, based around that whole thing. But for the most part, music, at home, solo artists especially, or even people, there's a bunch of people collaborating online that are sending tracks around to each other. And that's, I think there's going to be some beautiful things, like you said, come out of this. And hopefully that she'll get the traction she deserves and keep on the up trajectory and have the career that she deserves to have. That's cool though that you say that. It's funny you say that, actually, because I'm the same way musically. I'm like that sort of like get off my lawn guy. And there's a lot of new stuff that gets pushed by big labels that I'm just so not a part of and not into, and it doesn't float my boat. I think that's one of the reasons that this Song Club thing was so refreshing to me, because these people are young and really full of great, wonderful ideas and really great new songwriting abilities and melodies that are just knocking me off my socks. And so that's been cool. It's been cool to hear, to be humbled by that, by good players and good know that there's lots of young people that are kicking ass right now. And so sometimes you just got to search for it, because like we both talked about, there's just so much out there.
There really
and
is.
So that's about today. Like you got to if you want to find something new and exciting, it's out there. You just got to probably dig a little harder. you know, take
Well, and you gotta remember too. I think you and me come from the same thought. Like, it drives my son nuts. Like, for instance, I think the new My Morning Jacket album that recently came out is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It might be album of the year, and that's hard to
really
pick. Oh my god, I
okay.
honest to God truly believe, and it's crazy because these are songs they left off of the Waterfall album from a couple of years ago. These are the Outcasts, and there is a song on this album that is the song I truly believe the Grateful Dead wanted to make but could never put together.
You had mentioned that to me in a chat once, and I was trying to think of what that might sound like, and I don't know why I didn't go. You know what? At the time, I didn't have Spotify. That was the thing.
Okay.
Break, but now I got it again, so I can go listen to whatever now. I was kind of on this like high horse of like, God damn you, Spotify kind of thing. I think a lot of people are that. You heard what that president or the CEO guys.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's a drag to have to pay that guy money to get to your favorite music, but yeah, it's the world we live in. I guess it's like the same. Jeff Bezos, we give him money all the time to order our Amazon, so I don't know.
It's tough, but I mean, for him to say, you really think you're going to make enough money if you only put albums out every 3 to 4 years? I mean,
Yeah.
what? Dude, come on now, crazy.
I mean, I know you're the money behind it all, and you're the one of the sources, but be a musician. Go through the ups and downs. Go through the moments. You know, sometimes when musicians take off a year or two or 3 or 4, that's when their best stuff comes out because they just needed. They were just exhausted from whatever. Maybe they toured too much. Maybe they needed to clean up, or maybe they needed to get their shit together, but whatever it is. But sometimes they come back from that, and it's just like, that's when they have the breakthrough. So to say that they should be recording the whole time, and they don't make their money recording. They make their money getting out there and touring and selling merchandise and stuff. And that's where, and now that's gone. So we've had to vent ourselves.
It's crazy, but yeah, it's that whole thing drove me nuts. But it's the one thing that like I was trying to explain to my son. Like if we go in the car, anytime I listen to an album, unless it's like a single member, I start from song 1 and let it play out. Like I truly believe that there's a process and an art behind the placement of songs and how it's put together. So I believe in albums. I really, truly believe in the idea of 1 through 13, for instance, and playing 1 through 13. And my son's like, no, just skip to that song. And I'm like, but if I like how it's cushioned between this and then ends with that, like there's something to it. Like to me, like I don't believe Pink Floyd was ever a singles kind of band.
Yeah.
Like when I hear Money on the radio, I usually turn it off. But if I listen to Dark Side of the Moon, there is this way that it fits in that it's sandwiched in between these songs. It's a whole piece. It's a whole masterpiece.
Yeah. Well, maybe, and it's back to that like cassette thing too, right? It's like, when you kind of don't have a choice, you just listen to the whole thing. And I don't know.
It's all good. Well, listen, Rob, I think we have said it as much.
I know. I can't believe we had all the audio issues, and I'm so sorry that you had to go off and buy Zoom to make this happen or whatever it is.
Listen, Rob, when it comes to you and anyone in Stereo Embers, first of all, I admire you guys all. I think you guys are extremely talented. I would do anything to help you guys out in my little bubble of world that I have, because you guys are the most generous and gracious people in the world. And like I said, it's just crazy how I met Tim because I'm complimenting my role model to his face about how amazing he is. And within 10 seconds, like, no. He's a better guitar player than me. And I'm like, I'm like, what? And then I meet Tim and we start communicating. And then he's like, hey, dude, I'm going to have these new songs come up. Like, oh, listen, what can we do? We work this thing out. And then he's like, dude, I want to introduce you to Rob. Then I'm talking to you, and then like you introduce me to Guan, and Guan makes this killer playlist that was perfect for COVID-19.
Oh, and what was great was he did too, right? He did the
too, yeah,
or something, which was just awesome. I loved the Guilty Pleasures. I thought I might have liked that list even better.
I did. The Guilty Pleasures Guan playlist might be the greatest COVID-19 playlist that is out there.
Yeah.
But no, dude, listen, I absolutely adore you guys. I thank you for coming on. I'm hoping that we might be doing more together in the future.
I would love that tremendously. Yeah. And my goal now with Embers is to get you that 1 through 13 record, because we haven't put that out yet. We've got a bunch of EPs, but we've never put the whole thing together. That was what we were working on. We were like in the middle of that, and it just kind of the rug, But that's the goal, eventually to have that full length record. I know Tim's been hounding me really hard on like, we got to write more kind of acoustic because he's like, we can't just be full on rock. We got to write some acoustic stuff to have that fit, the middle songs, the ups, downs, the all arounds, just to have a full, just a peaks and valleys.
Wait, you got it. Was it like Extreme Road, Wholehearted? I mean, that's you just got to find your Wholehearted, right?
Yeah, you just got to find the full pile.
Well, listen, Rob, thank you so much for coming on. Listen, if you're watching, you're listening, Rob Benson, Stereo Embers, Facebook, Instagram, he's all over the place. He's doing things. He's a mover. He's an influencer. He is a shaker and a mover. I plan on doing more with Rob in the future. Stay tuned for more details. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to the Touring Fan Live.